Hey everyone, I've got about 46 minutes before I start work. Yeah, the bus basically dropped me off early, so I tried to do what's known as a dial-a ride, kind of get picked up at my house and then dropped off at work maybe a little before, but they couldn't do it. Anyway, I thought I'd come on here and talk about something. I was listening to TVTrax, and one of the podcast clips that they posted was who's joining who. And what was interesting about this podcast is they talked about the Bullet Club, and primarily how one of them felt that the Bullet Club was kind of dead in the water. And what I mean by dead in the water is primarily the fact that the Bullet Club ain't what it used to be. Plain and simple. The Bullet Club is basically people don't know how to drive. They think it's a racetrack around here. Anyway, basically the guy felt that Bullet Club isn't what it used to be. Basically, it's now more kind of like what the NWO was back in its day. And in case you don't know what I'm talking about, when the NWO was around, the NWO got so big and so popular to the point that they even went international. Yeah, they went international. And what I mean by international, I'm talking about the fact that another primary source, not primary source, but another, basically they expanded. And they expanded to the point that you had the core NWO, which was like the NWO Prime here in the United States in WCW, but then you had the expansions of places like Japan that had, members that primarily wrestled in Japan, like for New Japan, or who would go over there and wrestle on more than one occasion for Japan. And they were known as NWO Japan. You would have, I think even for a brief period, you had Mexico when they made deals with AAA and even CMLL. You had some of the Mexican athletes down there doing an NWO Mexico, NWO AAA, or NWO CMLL. And, I can and when I heard what this guy was saying, I can kind of see what he's talking about. It's like, unless you're a full-time performer in Japan and you're part of probably one of the most legendary factions they've had, if not one of the more popular factions they have had in a long time, one of the more mainstream factions, then the members of the Bullet Club that show up, they may, the Japanese fans, the New Japan fans may not know who you are. It's like basically when people compare Bullet Club to NWO, especially now, it's like Bullet Club is basically expanding in its own way through different promotions around the world. It's like, they use ROH for example, and they say in ROH, fans, they use ROH for example, and there are some fans that may or may not know that somebody like Cody Rhodes is part of Bullet Club. Cody doesn't really acknowledge it, but yet he is. He is part of the Bullet Club. You have guys like Adam Cole, who is part of the Bullet Club, and ROH fans, long-time ROH fans will know who he is, so they'll know he's part of it. And same with the Young Bucks, who basically go anywhere they want, who not anywhere, but perform anywhere they want. And They basically say that, fans will pretty much know who they are here stateside, that who they are, and that they're part of Bullet Club. But if you look at it from stateside or Japan side, if they don't see you as much, on the card or in the promotion and all that, they're not going to know who you are. Or they're not going to know that you're part of a club. You're part of the Bullet Club. You're part of the elite, or whatever you want to call it. They talk about like somebody like Cody and Frankie Kazarian, who's the newest member, and they say unless Kazarian and Cody are there all the time, nobody's going to know that they're Bullet Club members. If Adam Cole is there all the time, if Adam Cole isn't in Japan all the time, they're not going to know he's a Bullet Club member. And this is where they feel a problem, where, this one guy feels Bullet Club is dead in the water because the only way I think he believes, in my opinion, he believes that Bullet Club can be revived is if they have some major mainstream names, attached to the faction. If they have someone like a Cody Rhodes, who, according to one guy, could basically be making New Japan his home for a while, maybe his home promotion. Unless someone like him sticks around, they're not going to stick around as part of Bullet Club. Nobody's going to know he's part of it. The only American people that they know is part of Bullet Club or the non-Japanese people they know as part of Bullet Club, is the Gorillas of Destiny. The Gorillas of Destiny, who's one of the members of that tag team, I believe, is the former Camacho. And Kenny Omega. So, you got these people, these non-Japanese people that are primary stays, and the reason people know they're part of Bullet Club is because they're always there. But then, you guys, again, like you said, like the guy points out, you got all these non-Japanese members of Bullet Club that are not there all the time. And they may, some Japanese fans may or may not know that they're part of Bullet Club. They may not know that. And the same could be said here on, here stateside. Some people may or may not know that some of the Japanese guys or some of our own countrymen or Canadian men, whatever, or people are part of Bullet Club because, we don't see New Japan that much, and we don't know if they're there, and we don't know who's a member of what. I mean, honestly, you think... The point is, you think fans in Japan watch ROH and say, oh, Frankie Kazarian, he's part of Bullet Club now. No, they don't know that. As far as they know, Frankie Kazarian is still part of the Addiction with Christopher Daniels. They don't know that yet. I think the problem when it comes to Bullet Club being dead in the water, according to one of these people, is the fact that it's becoming more NWO-like during the NWO's dying years, or its final years in its original incarnation, than it should be. Basically, one of the people pointed out that it's like Japan is trying to franchise out the Bullet Club. And that might be true. They are a big seller. Pro Wrestling Tees, I understand, from what I understand, has, any Bullet Club merchandise, t-shirts, and stuff that Pro Wrestling Tees sells is a hot item. But I think another reason this guy feels that Bullet Club may be dead in the water, and it may not just because of the fact that they are adding constant members to the group that some fans state-wise and some fans Japan-wise or Japanese-wise may or may not know are members of the Bullet Club, is because now you have all these other groups. One group And again, it's hard to pronounce the name. He calls them LJS. I think that's what he calls them. Or LJZ or whatever. They're a group basically comprised of Japanese and Mexican wrestlers and even some American wrestlers. And people like them, have become fond of them, have gotten behind them, have basically, become fans, gotten behind them just like they did with Bullet Club. And apparently, according to this guy, that one group is more over now than I think Bullet Club ever has been. It's one of the hottest acts Japan has, if not wrestling has right now. And the reason being, I think, is because they're not watered down. Or they're not being franchised out. They're not adding in members at random. And people are not and to the point that the Japanese fans, the Mexican fans, the United States fans may or may not know of. When a member obviously joins this one group, people kind of find out about it. And they do, but here's what's unique about it, I think, from what the guy was saying, maybe I'm wrong, when they add a member, they do it at a time, or they do it at an event where all eyes are watching. So when you have all eyes on the product, and they are watching what you are doing, and they're watching what you are doing, and they see, oh crap, this guy just joined this group. There you go. I'll give you an example. Recently, last year, CZW did the Cage of Death, which is their WrestleMania. And in the main event, Team CZW lost thanks to their champion, who they thought they could trust, turning his back on them. Apparently, from what Pro Wrestling Illustrated is saying, it's like his contract might be coming up, so he might be going elsewhere. Maybe NXT, Ring of Honor, who knows. So on his way out, he's just going to take out all of CZW because basically he's not part of them. But the point is, they did it at a time when all eyes were on the event. All eyes were watching the pay-per-view. That's why this one group that this guy says has become way over, has become one of the hottest groups and factions out there, if not in Japan and Mexico, but in all of wrestling, is because when they do things, obviously they do them when people can see it. They don't do it either at live events or whatever. They do it at a time when people will have their eyes on the product. They will have their eyes on the product, and they will at least know what has happened, what's occurred, and who's become a member or who's been kicked out. So basically, getting back on point here, you can kind of understand where one of these guys on who's joining who would state why the Bullet Club is not working right now, why the Bullet Club is dead, why it's dying in the water, because you have these different expansions, in a sense, of the club all over the place. And you might think, oh, that would be cool and everything, until you realize where some of these expansions are at. I mean, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at why he says Bullet Club could be dead, besides what I've mentioned. Bullet Club being dead due to the fact that, okay, you have your original faction, but now you have sort of a elite effect. You have sort of a spin-off within your original faction in Japan. Kind of like with the NWO. Remember, the NWO did something similar. In 1999, they did the NWO Wolfpack and the NWO Black and White. The Wolfpack was basically like the elite of wrestling, the elite of the NWO. The Black and White was like the secondary hands, like the B team. And that's what it sounds like here. When the guy says that Japan seems to be franchising the faction out, he's not wrong in that perspective, because when you take a look at the fact that the Bullet Club, that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and whoever else they decide is elite enough to to walk alongside them, starts calling themselves elite, and this acknowledges the Bullet Club as, the Bullet Club, as like a second-hand team, like backup players. It's like, you can see why the guy is concerned, because now you have the elite, which is supposed to be better than the original group. You've got American guys, along with the Young Bucks, like Adam Cole, Kazarian, Hangman Page, representing in ROH and places like PWG and several other indie promotions here stateside, mostly ROH. You have Cody Rhodes doing the same thing, but then you add TNA to that perspective as well, because he's in TNA. He works TNA on occasions too, or Impact Wrestling as it calls itself. So you have that, and so you have Bullet Club expanded outside of Japan, not just in Japan, not just within Japan, with the elite being basically like the Wolfpack of 1999. Not only do you have Bullet Club expanded over into the indie promotions of the United States, mostly ROH, and then somewhat, if you look at Cody, Impact Wrestling, TNA, with him being there. But then you take a look at WWE, for example, and you got the Club, which is on the Raw brand, which is Anderson and Gallows. They're the tag champs, yes. And then you have AJ Styles. You have AJ Styles on the SmackDown brand, and and then if you want to look at it as well, you got Finn Balor. So you got a WWE consortment. You got an WWE expansion of the Bullet Club, just known as the Club or the Balor Club, whatever you want to call them. And then you got AAA or CMLL with their own version of the Bullet Club. So you kind of see with their own expansion of the Bullet Club, so you kind of see where the guy's coming from. It's like, to him, it's like, why even, it's like, why is the Bullet... So basically, I think the question the guy has is, why even have the Bullet Club around anymore if it's going to be all over the place? The Bullet Club pretty much is in his eyes, from what I understand, and I do apologize to the guy if I misinterpretate some things, but in his eyes, why is the Bullet Club even still around if you basically have exploited it, easy for me to say, for what it was, and made it into something that it's not? I mean, when you think about it from a reality standpoint, Anderson, Gallows, and Styles, they're not even in the Bullet Club anymore. They're just themselves. They just do the Wolfpack sign and all that, or the Bullet Club sign, whatever you want to call it. Because, they're paying homage to what they were part of. Okay? They're paying homage to what they were part of. And the thing is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. To WWE, whether they were part of the Bullet Club or not. I mean, yeah, you can reference what they did, you can reference what they were part of and all that, but really, you can't even use Bullet there. You have to use Balor or something else just to say, yeah, it's the same thing, it's now in part of WWE. But when you have somebody come out, and it may not mean much to a lot of fans, it may not mean diddly squat to a lot of people listening, but when you have somebody that does a podcast or does videos, and he acknowledges that, hey, my video went up 10,000 views the day after Kazarian joined the Bullet Club, then in a sense it still means something. Still means something, but basically when the guy it still means something, but when the guy comes out and says, yeah, that's great, but what's the point? Bullet Club isn't what it used to be. I mean, Bullet Club, here's the thing. From what I have seen, and heard, Bullet Club was the hottest act in wrestling when they were Japan and ROH exclusive. That was it. The reason they were the hottest thing then is because, one, New Japan had a group that you legitimately believed was out for themselves, didn't care about Japanese tradition, and did what they want when they wanted to do it. Okay? You legitimately believe that. And then, when they came to ROH, you saw a group that had the similarities of the NWO, and that got you wanting to watch more ROH to see more of them. But here's the thing. ROH, when they first got the Bullet Club to be part of the company, never overexposed them. It's like you never know when they're going to show up or a member or two is going to show up. You knew at least that if you had someone like the Young Bucks, you had a part of the Bullet Club there, so you never know if they were there, if anybody else would follow. The point is, folks, when somebody says whether their opinion matters to you or not, when someone comes out and asks and says that the Bullet Club is dead to them, it's not what it used to be, and that it's been franchised out, and that basically, from what I understand, shouldn't even be around anymore because you got so many expansions. You got the WWE trying to secondhand build it or rebuild it. You know, it's like, why are they even still around? And when they point out that you got another group that obviously is based around, CMLL and AAA with their talent, the LJS or the LGZ, whatever they call themselves, being looked at as the next hottest faction out there. The next hottest faction out there. If not the hottest faction out there. And along with other factions like Chaos that everybody's getting behind. What's even the point of having Bullet Club there? What's the point? I mean, the guy's right about one thing. If you're going to have the Bullet Club there, at least have a mainstream name that will be a mainstay there, that won't be part-time, that won't show up on occasions. Have someone that's going to be there, someone or someone's, one or two or three people that will be mainstays for Japan and for the Bullet Club there, so at least you still give them name recognition. Because if not, then the Bullet Club doesn't really have that much name recognition at all. I mean, if ROH is planning to bring the Bullet Club over and make them an American-based group and faction only, to where the only way you could see Bullet Club is through ROH, okay, fine, good business move, but it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. So, to me, I look at it this way. I don't think the Bullet Club is dead, but I will say this. I do agree that if they don't do something, if they don't get a mainstream name to permanently be part or be a mainstay in Japan for the Bullet Club, then I don't see the Bullet Club lasting any longer in Japan. I see them having a resurrection, a renaissance here in America, in independent in organizations like Ring of Honor, PWG, Impact Wrestling, and maybe even WWE. But I don't see them lasting much longer in Japan unless they do something. So that's really all I'm going to say about in that response. Let me know what you guys think down below, though. But again, it's all a matter of opinion. My thought is, I don't think they're dead. I just think they got a lot of work to do. Again, I think they just got a lot of work to do. and hopefully they can work something out, because even in the summer, Japan, business can go up and down, and the Bullet Club is big business for New Japan. Let's just hope they can work something out, because I think the guy's right. The guy's right. In his opinion, it may be dead. I believe it's just a shell of itself, and the only way I think they're going to be able to boost that popularity again in this guy's in that guy's eyes, and make them what they used to be, that dominant force. Make them what they used to be, that dominant force. Then I don't see them having a bright future in Japan much longer. So let me know what you guys think down below.